Hello, this is Max Drake. It's a slightly longer video, this one, but I wanted to carry on with the barcode, and this is an actual app that I'm doing. So it's a GlideApp, but I'm using Google Forms to actually do the scanning at the point of sale. So therefore, I'm just going to have my mouse in the code on my form. I'm going to scan one of the labels. That one comes through there. I'm going to scan another one there. I'm going to scan another one there, and I'm going to scan another one there. I'm going to submit that form now. Now, I just want to go into that full. I'm going to go into my inventory sheet, and I'm going to do a couple of things here. One of them, I'm just going to show that that's actually come through at 12:53. At the same time, I've got to do a little bit of a bodge. It's just the way I am. There we go. And you see, I actually just got an email just there that said a little while, so I just want to come across here. And this was actually sent off at 12:53:11. And if I just go to my emails there and Autocrat merge there, and this was received at 12:53 through here, and if I open that with whatever, there's my inventory. Now my images aren't coming through, this is all going weird, and I haven't got my total price through here. But basically, I've just sent myself an invoice based on that thing there. So that's what's actually happening. The template's gone a bit out of the way. So what's happened? What's happened there is that I scanned into that form through there. It sent it through into here. Now, before I go any further, so that's actually just using that sheet and pushing it all the way through. Oh, sorry, no. So it's pushing it through to there. So when I initially set up the thing, I actually had a receive column, and the receive column that I had on my original one, I actually had either you could input a code with a barcode scanner, or else you could do a lookup. So you could go and choose choices. So I actually had a choice sheet here. So I can actually had a category called, and I just made a couple of categories because this was a way of explaining something. If I've got items, so if I just go through and just go control up and control down, I've got something like 45 items on here. So to actually have one pull down choice list of which you've got to go down and choose an item, if you're just doing it, across the way through there, you have to look up 45 items. You can be quite confused. So the thing to do is you categorize things into different things. So I've got categories, t-shirts, hats, gender, color, and size. So this was really just a demonstration of that sort of thing. So when I actually did the choice, so this was my first intention of doing this. So when I actually wanted to add things to it, I could come down here. I could either actually have a new code here, and that could be an XL or something like that, an XL t-shirt coming through there, or else I could use a pull down. I wanted a t-shirt, I wanted to be for a female, I wanted a size, a nice red one, and I wanted it to be small. And there you actually see a code check. Now what I actually found when I actually set this up inside the GlideApp on the actual receive, so when I actually had the tab, we just go to the tab quickly, and if we go to receive and we go to add, when I added all that in, so whether I put the code, and then if I did a choice, if I did a code or the choice, doesn't matter which I actually did, and did the right matter. So here I'm just going to add one in at this point in time so that we got it, and I'm going to do 13 and 1355 and quantity 12, and we've added a component through to there. So that'll there it is, 1355, and we've added 12 of those through there. So that's just come into our receipt through there. When I actually clicked, when I was doing that, when I actually clicked that add button, it would send it off. Now what I was finding when I was in the sheet, in the receive, it was doing a lookup. Now I've got a lookup relationship between the receive, which looks up the code, and it has a relationship with the code lookup with the items, so that it can pull out the number of the pack size and also I think the image, which I pulled through as well, so that when I'm actually looking at my inventory, I've got the image, and if I click on that, I haven't actually got the data, but I could actually have the pack size, and I could have sale size and all sorts of other things, or something, or cost per unit, etc., 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 and I can do those calculations because all of that data is in this sheet here. But what I was finding, because I cannot push two things, I cannot push a barcode scanner and this data, when I do these pick boxes, to the same cell. It's either one or the other. None of that actually reacts. So I've got to do it to this other column called code check, which actually says, if this is empty and this is empty, then it's empty. Just leave me blank. If this is there, so there's a code, then just put the code down. If this is not empty, if this is empty but this isn't empty, then build my code. Now the code that I've used is based on the category. So if you look at the category, yeah, it's got t-shirt, so the first two letters are TS, then the gender, F, so here you see for the unisex it's got a U, and then red, it's got three letters, but in fact I've got four letters through there because it can either be blue or black, because if it's only two letters, it could be black or blue, it would be exactly the same, so that can be confusing. So I just made it 4, but red is only 3, so it's just the way it was. And then the size is the last bit of the letter, and it's only a single thing through there. So that's how I was generating that, but I found I couldn't do either of these two things because it did the lookup before it did this formula. So therefore I couldn't check this thing here, so it didn't work. So I ended up having to make it code. So your choice is, you can do this without a scanner. I'm just playing with the scanner, so that's why I'm playing with it, and I find it's useful with the GlideApp if you're doing a point of sale, which is the whole idea of doing this. Or you can do these. So how do you do this lookup? Well, what you can actually do, and this is just a demonstration on here for lookup, I'm actually going to do size again through here. And if I do size through here, I just select some down here, and so this is just for practicing. In GlideApp, you actually just go through. On this one here, you just go data, you do data validation, you actually say list from a range, you select a range to list from, you go into the choice, and you choose here, choose a lot more just in case you add some later, and you go save. And then if we go back to the other one, you'll see I've now got a pull down list with all of those options there, so you can add other ones through there. So that's how that works. And again, your choice inside Glide, you would actually just do a choice. You would actually have an item, and it would just pull down and do that. So if you wanted to build this app again and use this method of actually using pull downs, then that's the way to do. Now, one of the comments which I'd actually have on here I've got a category one which has got 2 pull downs, and then I've got gender, male, female, or unisex. Now it's a bit confusing because I've got gender, male and female for the t-shirts, but the hats only come as unisex. So you could actually have a pull down with 3 letters in here. You could have t-shirts male, t-shirts females, and hat unisex. So you can actually get away with 1 column, then you're actually only doing pull down on 3 columns. So that's a way of doing it. But really the category is breaking the categories down so that you're not doing a lookup of a massive, 50 lines or something like that. You're actually making it an efficient way of actually just going through and searching something. And this is a quick and dirty way of actually just doing unique codes, which you can actually use for the barcodes on the identities themselves. So that's the way that one does there. So that's the idea behind the code. And when I'm actually doing the items, what I actually did on the items is that I actually made a list. So basically I had t-shirts and I just dragged that down. Then I had male, and then I had black, and then I had small, medium, large. And then just to make the code, I just concatenated that one together. So I wanted the first two letters of that. Then I actually wanted the dash, etc., etc. So that's how that's built up. And then I had the title, which was just everything in there. And then the description, you'll always have a description or something. And then for the image, I just put a whole load of images, and then I did a share link, and then I just pasted the share link through there. And then I did the QR code, as I've discussed before. And then I put pack size, and I put sell price. Because your cost price is depending on how much you purchase each time, but your sell price is pretty fixed. But you can suddenly say, oh, these are getting really popular, so I'm going to actually sell them for $12.75 now, because we'll see if we can just get a little bit more leverage out of the ones that we actually do. So we got the QR code so that we can actually put them all of it on our items that we actually do. So this is why when I broke this one down to doing the one that I actually did for the receive one here, the code, basically nearly all of my receive tab is actually built within the GlideApp data pane. So in here it's done, and all I need is the code. I need to put in the cost, and I need to put in the quantity. In fact, I should actually drag those together, quantity and cost and quantity, and that's what I'm pulling in. So that's what doesn't matter. And what it does is every time I go submit, it fixes the date for me. So it's putting the date of whenever that one does that, and then it puts in the quantity. Then I'm doing a lookup, because I've got a lookup relationship with the items column. And the items column shows all the items that it does. So it's doing a lookup on this first column here, and then it's bringing across the image, and it's bringing across the pack size. So that's what I'm getting from in the receive column through there. And so that's all the information that I'm actually gathering through that one there. So if we just go back and actually look on the receive, we've got the receive going through here, and I've got the search button. So I've just got that as a list so that I can actually just go black. So what am I selling in black, or what have I got in stock in black, or what have I got in stock in red? I don't have that much in stock in red, so no t-shirts and stuff, so maybe I should be purchasing some of those. So those are what the receive ones in, and it's got an indication. I've got them in reverse order just so that whatever the latest ones is, it just tells me what I purchased there. If I click on it, there's more information. I just haven't bothered putting it in. I wasn't interested in that part of it. I can add an item on here, so I can actually add a code in there. So I'm just going to go and grab a code. Just that one there, and I just bang it into there. So in this one again, all I needed a code, and I'll go Excel onto that one there, and the cost per pack was 13.77, and the quantity is 23. Add, boom, and straight away it's come through there, and it's brought the image across. It's very, very fast. So everything that seems to be working in the data panel, bloody fast. So that's interesting. So it's doing that data panel stuff before it goes out and starts doing the Google Sheet formulas. So if you've got an interface which is relying on a Google Sheet formula to return something, you're better to go and send whatever it returns to another sheet, and then read that data or do that data lookup from that other sheet, because that way the formula actions first before that happens. So that was just something. So as I said, I just simplified my one through there. I've got the items through here, and the only reason I've got them on there is so you can do a lookup. So if I just go for dash small, I can see whatever there is that I've got in stock on small size. Or if I can go dash U, then I've got anything that's unisex, which is just be the hats or something like that. So I do love their units. So the inventory as it goes through there. I've got sales in two different methods. I've got sales where I've got the transaction number. Now I'm going to go in and explain exactly what's actually happening here. And then I've got sales which is just an item and how many of that particular item has been sold. So that's quite good at just looking at what's the most popular items that are through there. And this one here is that I can find something based on a transaction. So unfortunately, I've got this as a details and an inline list where it should be a list so that I can do a lookup. If somebody comes back to me and said, I bought this yesterday, and it was a thing that you can actually just go through and find the idea of the item or whatever, and you can find the item code to actually go and look it up. It's a bit long and cumbersome, but there's a point behind that and the logic behind why I did the things. So that is just so that if you're in a thing, you can do a lookup. And as I said, that needs to be a list instead of an inline list, because then I can actually get the search function on it through there. So that's as it stands. Now the items, I haven't got an add an item because of the fact that I think if you're adding a whole load of items, you do them in the main spreadsheet anyway. Don't bother even trying to do them from the app. It just seems awkward unless you're always mobile, in which case you develop that point of thing. So let's go back and see what the form returns. So we've actually got the form, and it says, give me some code. So all it's asking you for is just a code digit. So you can do that straight away with the barcode scanner. So fantastic. And then you submit. Now I'm only making it 4 through here. So when we actually come to the inventory sheet and we go into the what comes through on the forms, it starts getting a little bit blooming messy. What you actually get on the forms, I'm just going to hide this, hide column. What you get on is basically, well actually I can unhide that and undo, is basically this. This is all that comes through. It gives you a timestamp, and then it says on that timestamp you sent through this information. On that timestamp you sent through this information. Because there's only 4 items I can bring through, on that timestamp you sent that one through. So that's what I got through there. Now that mogadoored me for a minute, because what I needed to have was I needed to have this associated with this transaction number, 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 and maybe the date too, or something like that. So first of all, I needed a unique identifier for each transaction number. So what I ended up doing, inside the form, I've actually said that you've got to give one answer. So you won't let you submit the form unless you actually put one item in. So as soon as you've got one item, you know there's always going to be something in that first column. So what I've done is that I've just joined these things together. I've just joined that and that together, and I've just put an exclamation mark in between. So if you see, there's an exclamation mark so that I can split them apart later. Now I suddenly thought, well, so that's given me the unique identifier for my transaction number. It's not that pretty. I could then do a convert on that or something. I could take all of that and I could do a bit of a trim on it, like take the last 7 digits or something in the middle, or do something so it's an easier thing to look up. At this point in time, if we just go in and look at the actual app itself and we look at the things, we can see these two both belong, or these 3 all belong to, sorry, these 4 all belong to the same ones because they finished with 55 and they got the red LT. Then these ones all belong to the same one because they all have blue S. This is the next one because it had red L or whatever. And so there is a simplistic way that you can just run your eye over it and see which ones are slightly different. Still quite big and cumbersome, but the point is all I wanted was a GUID through there at this point in time. So a unique identifier coming through. So that's what I use. Now the other thing is that I need to get this associated with this. So how do I do that? Well, one of the things I just used the same thing again is that I did a concatenation through here. So I actually said, if C is not empty, if C is empty, just show me blank. Otherwise, join A and C together, C2 or C3 or whatever, and put a hash between them. So that means I've got one bit of data coming across that I can grab, and then I can split it out. So I've concatenated everything together, and then I can break it apart as I want. So let's see how that happens. So the next thing I want to do is how do I convert. So this one here, I've got a little bit of a problem. If you saw when I actually showed you my receipt, I didn't actually have the total, because every time a new form sends some more data through here, it just writes a new line and it writes all of this. So if there's a formula, anywhere there's a formula in the line, it deletes that formula. Sorry. Yeah. So here you see there's formulas. So as soon as it creates that new line, which you see these ones here, there's no formula, because these ones here are using an array formula. So the formula is only in the first cell and it arrays down. These ones, the actual formula are in each cell itself, so that it writes it over and it disappears. So I haven't quite debugged it. So all I'd need to do is just do this exercise here of taking any of the information through here of this and putting this information onto another page. So that's all I need to do. So I'd have something like POS processing or something like that, and I just put those calculations in there. Then anytime this stuff comes through it, and in fact I really shouldn't do it on here, I was just being a bit lazy and doing something like that, because then I won't be in fear of any of this thing overwriting down here. But what actually happens now I've actually got all of that bit of information all joined together in one place. How do I get it into a single column? Now it's an array, so it's a 4 by however many deep rows, it's an array. So I'm just going to go into my old, I'm just going to copy all of these across and just demonstrate what I'm doing. So this is something from my, from the brilliant guy who does Learn Google Spreadsheets. So I'm just going into my old one through here, and I'm just going to go into receive. Yeah, I'll go into receive because I already know once they're down here. So here's the information that I've actually just pulled across. I should just paste special and paste values only. Paste special, paste values only, and it's only doing that first one. So I've got to go back to the other one and go control copy and go to base special, base values. No, it's not doing it. Why are they doing that? Copy. Control V. No, that's just doing that. So if I just go paste special, paste values only. Oh, kind of weird there. Anyway, I did. Okay, we'll use the other example at this point in time. What do I do there? Well, that seemed to work. Okay. Yeah, okay then. So what I do is, if we go back to the other one, I'm just going to copy and paste this first bit here. So I'm just going to copy and paste that one there, which is the original stuff. So this is the original stuff that came through, the timestamp, the code 1, code 2, code 4 on that one there. So I'm going to copy that, and we'll just go back to this other one through here, and I just go Control V. And it should be the same, plus I've got an extra line through there. So that's the original one. So that one is just a concat. So it's just concatenating these two items through here, and it's turning it into a number. The next thing that I actually do here is I actually just say this is equal to this plus this, and put a hash in between. And then I drag it across. And when I drag it across, you see it's still giving me information because it's reading the hash. Also, I think I've actually got to make, it's pulling that. So that actually has to be pulled across each time. So that actually has to be that. Now, if I pull that across, I should be getting the same sort of thing through there. But because the next of these ones here are empty cells, what I've actually got to put into this one here is, and I just say if, open brackets, this, whoops, this one here, if, bugger, this if, open brackets, this cell here equals, then it's empty, else it's, so now when I drag it across, oh no, because again I've got a, oh no, if that one, L 15th ever. We'll get there. K, back K. So if that cell there is empty, then don't show anything. So as I drag that one across, so the other ones come empty. So I can now take that and I can now drag that down, and I just get that matrix coming through all the way through there and stuff. So now I've got that information. So now I need to rotate. I need to take that array of so many columns across and so many so many columns across, so many rows down, and I need to rotate that around. Now I can use a formula called FLATTEN. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. So this is equal to FLATTEN, and what it does is it takes an array, so from there through to there, so we've got all of our 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where we are, enter, and it shows them all the way down there. So we've got all our information down there, so that's cool. The only problem is we've got a gap, because as it goes along we've got that gap, 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 that gap, gap, gap. So that gap, gap, gap. So it's reading across the array, then it's starting on the next line, then it's starting on the next row, next row, next row, next row. What we can then do with that is that we can say unique. So only show us the unique situations where that happens. So it's only showing us unique. But you see, we've still got a unique one called blank, because that's unique. It's a unique thing. So what we can now do with this one is that this is all from learn. He's a god. We can now use the command sort. Did I get the S in there? And then we can actually do a sort. And what it does is that blank one is actually there. So now I've got all of that into that order. I'm just going to that one there, and I'm just going to bring them across to here just to do that. Oh, bugger. Where's my formula? I've got to take my formula there and bang it across to there. So I'm just going to bring it across to here. Now I can actually, the next thing that I can actually do is I can go equals that, or in fact I just come across to here, equals that split that by the hash key, comma, hash. So now it's now split it into the unique ID. Oh, I didn't have the hash in there, I had 3. Hash. There we go. So there, I could really mess things up with my typing. So now, I've now split those bits of data out. I'm just going to move them back across one. And then from that one, you see, I can split again and actually get the date out. So I can actually do another split on this one here, or on this bit here, this cell here, and actually get the date across to the other one. So I can actually just take those and I can drag that down. Boom. So that's that. So how do I know how many of each in there? Well, I can actually use the formula of, now how did I do it? I've actually just got to go back and remember how I did this, because I've erased those formulas, have I? Oh, I did. Bugger. I can now do a count. So wait a minute, that is equal to there. No, sorry, the formula is one up there. So I can now go, copy, I'm just going to bring it across to here, B, and I don't want sort, and I actually want equals sum product, flatten that equals D27. There was the problem. It's usually I've got too many brackets, so not enough of them. I'm one row up than I should be, but that's all right. Now you see it does a count of how many times I get that. So inside here you can actually say, well, how many times does this one occur or this one occur? But because I've got, so I can't do a lookup on that because I'm looking up this very long one, so I've actually got to make sure I'm looking at the right thing to get that. But basically, oh now something's weird's happened. And also it's interesting, you see here at the end, it's given this number 40. Now why has that gone weird? That should be D28, D29, D17 to, now that's the other thing. You've actually got to lock those off. So that's an F4, enter. Now when I do that, and I should start another row up. And now they should actually be correct. And now you see right at the end, because I'm actually one out, so if I just go X and no, 26, then I should get, and drag that down. There we are. So what it's saying is I've got 8 blank cells because it's going across and looking, and then if we actually count our blank cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's saying I've got 8 blank cells as well. So it's counting the blank cells. So when we actually do that sort function on it, the blank cells actually come to the bottom, but that one's just reading that one at the top. And it says, oh, how many blanks have I got? I've got 8 of those, because it's looking inside that array area as well. It's just we don't see it, so we don't have to mind about worrying about it and things like that. So that's what we're doing. So we're using flatten. We're using unique to actually only get the ones that we actually want. We're using sort to get rid of that blank one right in the middle so it doesn't look ugly. And then we can actually do a sum product based on how many of those in those that unique one. Well, if you did it on these ones, you could actually use a specific code, but because I've done the concatenation of everything all into there, see, so that one there I've done a concatenation and I've split across, and I just want to drag that out there. So again, the other one with the date is that first one I've split across, and I've done that massive split through there. Sorry, so what I can actually do with this is, and that's got the date, and I can actually go, this is equal to this, split this by exclamation mark. So that's actually split the time and the other bit that I joined on there through there. So when I actually drag that down, if I actually just select those ones through there and actually format them as number date time, you'll see it converts to date time again. So I can, as such, it's sort of circular. We've gone back to, we can pull out date A. So pulling that one lump of data in, we can sort it. We can actually get all of our individual things through there. Now, it's an ugly blooming number to get, and in fact, you might end up sorting it the other way and actually having the name at the front or some other thing, or find another letter to put a date on, or there is a way of actually doing adding another code or something to make them easier and more visible to do. But all I wanted to do was just a unique identifier. So that's actually how I've been doing the splitting through there. So on the one side, I actually needed to split down. So as I was saying, I needed to do one, which was for the inventory. So therefore I needed to split, So for the sales invoices, I needed to split it by each invoice. So I needed a unique invoice. And I didn't mind if I had several items which were different, because I did them on the count that way. Because I joined them all together that way. But I've got a unique invoice number, and when I actually do the invoices, all of those 4 items come off on that one page. So that's quite easy to manage through that. So I can go and find a specific item on a specific invoice. So that's good. The other one that I needed to do is I needed to do the sales, and I didn't have any interest in the invoice numbers at all. Not interested in them. All I actually wanted was the unique items, so that how many of each had I sold. So I've got a count of all of the ones that I've sold, of all the specific things through there. So that's what that one's doing. Now that one, maybe I don't know if I can actually do an array function through there to actually just blast down as they actually grow through. I don't know if there's any more. If I just drag those and just see if there's any more through there that have come through. No, that's what's there. So that is doing a sort on C2 to C. So that one's doing a sort from there, but it could also sort from this form as well instead. So it could actually just read those, and you just go from C2 to F blank, because as new rows came down, those were all the items that were actually coming in. And then all you need, so you don't care about the date, you don't care about the invoice number, all you want to know is how many of the blooming things have you sold, and then you can just and then you can subtract them from your inventory. So the inventory, all I've got through here is I've got a sort unique receive A2 to A. And in the receive on here, you can't see anything on here. That's the thing when you're actually playing with the data thing. It all sort of goes into the data pane rather than stuff. But because there are in the data pane all of these items through here, what was the item we were looking at? We were looking at code. So if we go and look in here and look at code, this is the code, and then these are all the different purchases through there. Now you can see we've generally been selling things that we've done, and there's one blank through here, so we actually hadn't sold any of that particular product at this point in time. Oh, sorry, yeah. Edit. Sorry, we can't find. So there's an item here that we can't find. And I think that's spelt wrong. So that should be an L. And then it found it. So there it is. So that was a typo error. I might have actually put something in instead of using the barcode scanner. Oh, sorry, where am I? So on my receive, I've got all of these items down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 hats. So there's 4 hats through there. So when I go through and look at my sales, no, when I looked at my received, no, when I looked at my inventory, and I do, there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 hat equivalents. Whereas if I look in what I've got on my receive, I'm still having a little bit of I've got a couple of anomalies in here, and I'll explain them shortly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I have got 6. So there are 6 different variants of the things through there. So that's why on my inventory I've got the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's right. Now here's a little anomaly. I've got these ones here. TS female black XXL. So t-shirts females black XXL. Now if I go into received, I've got 2 of these through here. I've got t-shirt F black XXL XXL. I've got an 11 and I've got a 1. Now the 11, so multiplied by 20, I've got 220 of them. One of those are at 20. Now those I bought, the one I bought at 80, so that cost per item is 4. 45 I bought 11, so I've got 220, and because I've got 220, the cost per item is 20 cents. But when I get to my inventory, so I've got a little bug in here somehow that I need to work out how it's done. When I come into the female black one through here, I've only got 220 items. So it's not, and I've only got 11 instead of 12. But my cost per unit is 225. So I think it's taking the 20 cents and the other ones, but even then that doesn't work. It should be, so something wacky is happening there. So it's only acknowledging 11 of them at this point in time, and then I've got the stock value through here. So the inventory basically takes the receives. We just get the, and then I have relationship columns. So I just get the codes from the received, and I just make them the unique code. So therefore there's only one of every single type of those codes coming through. And I've said, okay, then it doesn't matter how many times I buy those as a separate receipt or buy batches of them, there should only be one line there. Now what I'm doing, I've got a feeling what I'm not doing here, edit, is I should have match multiple. And that's something's gone crazy through there. And that's what's actually happening, is that and in relates that it somehow can acknowledge, it's not acknowledging those quantities of things through there. Oh no, actually it's not actually doing that either, is it? Edit, it's not matching multiples, it's only actually matching one, matching the first one that it finds, and that's all it is doing there. So we can actually bring all of that other data in. So something's happening through there, and I'm just tagging it that it's a little bit of a knot. But generally the principle is, you know, I've got the thing set up with my inventory, so I can go out to the market or out to the place where I'm actually doing my selling. I've got my mobile phone with all of my inventory on it. Somebody purchases a piece of inventory, I can scan, and I've got my setup such that I can scan 4 items with a barcode, bang, 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 and then I send that off. I press a button, that goes through and into the sheet. It creates a, so here's my point of sale invoice that I've actually got. And that's where my G's, that should be there. Wonder where that got to be. And that I think was right handy there. So this is my template for what it's actually reading. So it's actually reading all of those columns through there of all of the items from the Google Sheets. So sorry, I've sort of jumped ahead through here. So that was the setup in a way of generally how I've set the app up at this point in time. The other thing that I've then got to do is that I've got to go into tools inside my app, and I've got my form, which I can go and edit. So what you'd actually need to do with your form through here is that you'd need to make a copy of this URL and actually have it as a button on your phone. So as soon as you get onto market, you hit that button and it's ready to actually receive the scanned barcodes as it comes through. So this form is actually created inside. We're using the add-on, which is the Autocrat one, and I'm not going to go through that. And if you just go to manage add-ons and look up Autocrat, you can go and get it. So the Autocrat form, I've just done a very simple demo. Now this, you can actually have a nice background image in Word, and this is the template, and it's actually saying go and look. So this is associated with this POS tab. So therefore I'm pulling data out of here. I'm pulling the transaction code out of here. I'm pulling the time. I'm pulling the transaction code out of here. I'm pulling the date when it actually happens. And then I'm pulling this information, code 1, code 2, code 3, code 4. I'm also adding some more information here, descriptors and stuff. And I'm adding images. I haven't quite got it working on the form yet at this point in time. But as I said, it's just done something weird. Such that when so I'm now getting my transaction ID, I'm getting my timestamp for a date on the thing, and then I'm getting my line of this is the code of what you bought, this is the description of what you bought, this is the image of what you bought, and this is the price of what you bought. So when we actually go back into the inventory through there and just drag that right the way to the end, we can click on one of those. We click on one which has lots. We'll see the actual form through there. Actually, this is an early form, so it's a bit dull. I'm not going to use that one because it was a bit buggy. I'll go to one of the later ones through there. Well, actually, we'd go through an earlier one because the earlier one, we'll open that one up. Open. What that one shows, I'd actually had the code. I was setting up the code, and then I decided to paste it into a table. Jeez, it takes ages to pull up. So I'd had that information through there. So it's all coming through as URLs rather than, if you see here, that is not a URL. So I've actually broken the URL link for those ones there. So that's coming through. So it's not showing the image, it's actually showing the URL to the image. So if I click on that, I suppose it's going to take me to an image. And they were actually saying sometimes it doesn't work in the PDF, so maybe you wouldn't do that. But you'll get the description. You see on this one here, I've got the total price. Now I've got the numbers coming through there. What I've done in my later template that I've been setting up is that I put a $sign through here, and then I've made this one bold. Maybe I should make a table out of this or something, or put some color or something through into there. And as I said, that's just a template, and it was really the principle of just getting a proof of concept of how you can actually process the whole thing. Now there might be a way of doing this totally in GlideApp instead of using the forms, using a GlideApp for doing your input into there and having a number of inputs and then pushing enter and then associating them with one unique identifier so that you know which transaction is actually happening through that. That's maybe the follow-on. I just needed to get the thing working. Now, as an aside of something before, when I did the video on the barcode scanner, I was talking about all sorts of dongling and connecting with the phone and things like that. And the first question, which I'm sure everybody would have asked, was why didn't you just Bluetooth it? You can Bluetooth these straight together. I've generally been a little bit anti-Bluetooth because I find I do it with some headphones and some speakers and things, and it would just take ages. And with my camera, I'd have a 360 camera, and it would drive me cracked. It took me more longer to actually Bluetooth the things together than it did to actually use the blooming thing. So I'm sort of a bit anti-Bluetooth. But in fact, just going through the book for using this and Bluetoothing it onto that, it was a doddle. It was a pleasure to use. And it was so much handier because it wasn't tethered to anything. I didn't have anything floating around on the mobile. So I could just have that in my pocket, use this straight away. I don't know how long it had last tethered for, or say Bluetooth synced. And you may need to have this continuously on. What I've got it on is it scans, or sorry, you turn it on, and then it's saying I'm awake now, then you scan, and then after 30 seconds it stops again. You might need to have this on continuously for a couple of hours and things like that. It's not as if it's using much charge if it's not doing. There's also another setting where if the light level changes, so I suppose when you kind of take it from a point where it's dark and then you go and scan a barcode, it wakes up as well. It's got a little, looks like an LED light sensor on the side there, a little yellow thing. So that was just a comment, is that to do that. And as I said, I went through at the beginning because there is the potential that if you don't want to go down the barcode method, you could go down this method here. I would just like to tag, there was a video by this gentleman here, the Math Lab New Zealand, about creating a QR code for attendance. And that one, you end up using the QR code and it just goes straight to the form and says enter the form. A couple of things which I'd put on proviso of that, and I think it might be on my items, is that I played with doing that, but look at the granularity. If you look at when you'd, and what this does is it fills out one thing in the form and then it sends the form off. So therefore, if you're doing lots of transactions, or you're doing, somebody's buying 3 or 4 items, you've got a unique transaction every single time, so you don't know how to associate them with each other. So that's one problem with that. Also, the quality of that barcode, it has to be quite big so that it's readable. Whereas this one here, on this one here, if you see the size there, oh, that's a point. I haven't actually tried that one. I actually want to, no, that's the other one. Sorry, I actually had a thing that I wanted to play with and I forgot to play with it. Bugger. Never mind. This one here, my barcode scanner will read it that size. But if you've got something with that much information in, no chance at all. You shrink that right down and it's almost unreadable. You would be able to read that very well, the amount of information, because you're putting in a lot of information through there. So an alternative to doing that, if you wanted to trigger it straight off of that, is that you could use a shortened URL. But then you'd actually have to go and build every single shortened URL and actually have it associated with something. Google did URLs, but then they started to try and do this file-based dynamic links, but they don't seem to work with Google Sheets. So I did do a little bit of an explore on that. So we're using Google Forms to actually attach the information. It's grabbing all the information, it's sending it off, filling out Google Sheets with that information that we can then display that inside the GlideApp. We can, from the GlideApp itself, we can see the inventory overall, we can see our sales, we can see what invoices were actually done on our sales, we can see what items we've received, and we can add another received item into our GlideApp. We can see our items, all of the items that we actually have for sale, and so we can check on them. We can, but the items, I've decided on my app that I'm actually just going to fill my items in from the spreadsheet. I'm not bothered trying to make the items being able to be adding an item from the mobile. You can do that yourself. We are then using, by filling out the form inside filling out the form and sending that off, it's sending that information to GlideApps, to Google Sheets. At the same time, it's creating a PDF of a template that we're doing, which is this one here, and it's sending that template to us via email. And we're receiving that email usually in the same minute that it's actually created that thing, so that if the client, we can either print that out, or we can print it out, or we can ask the people for their email and send them on the invoice of the thing, because it's a PDF. At the moment, I've got a couple of bugs. My total's not coming through on the thing there. That just takes a bit of fiddling around. And what other things? And it's a little bit screwy on inventory. Also, the last thing on the inventory thing as well, on the Learn GlideApp inventory tutorial, he had an adjustment one. So he had received, he had sales, and then he had an adjustment panel for if he's done a audit of his inventory and he's found he's short something, he can do an adjustment. He can add or subtract from that, just so that it balances as to where they are at a particular point in time. So, and it's using a barcode scanner handheld, which you can buy for about $20 US. This one's a fancy one, but the $20 ones, you'll be tethered to your mobile. This is one for about $100 New Zealand, which would equate somewhere to around $50 US, I think. And this is a Wi-Fi one, or you can actually Bluetooth together, so depending on which way you want to go with that. But the efficiency of here is that you don't actually have to have a big pull down list of 45 or 100 items or 200 items in your thing. If you've only got a few items, then using a simple pull down list, something like this, is the way to go. But if you're going to actually have an inventory that's going to grow over time, the best way of inputting and pulling them out and things like that is, it's to me, the barcode scanner. I find that makes it absolutely brilliant. So I hope that's been of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it useful, can you please give a thumbs up? Thank you very much.